So we then move on to item number 13, which is on to our councillor reports. And item number 13.1, the councillor conduct investigation for Councillor Brunker. So I'm just going to take my time to go through this, as it is a pretty lengthy process, and a very confusing one at that. We don't do these very often. So first of all, I believe that Councillor Brunker has a prescribed conflict of interest in this matter, since Councillor Brunker is the subject of the allegation in this report. Therefore, I would be requesting Councillor Brunker to leave the room when Council discusses and decides this matter. Any investigation of suspected inappropriate conduct of a councillor must be carried out in accordance with natural justice. Natural justice, or procedural fairness, refers to three key principles. The person being investigated has a chance to have his or her say before adverse formal findings are made and before any adverse action is taken for fair hearing. The investigator should be objective and impartial, absence of bias, and any action taken is based on evidence, not suspicion or speculation. I would like to offer this opportunity to Councillor Brunker if he would like to be heard prior to leaving the meeting because of his conflict.
Sure.
Thank you, Councillor.
Madam Mayor, first of all, I'd like to sincerely apologise for the actions that have been brought to this council. Unbelievable as they are technically right, and I certainly apologise because leading up to this, besides the Facebook post from the Barn Independent, I certainly believe in the pub test, and people would come up to me and say, what have you done? And I said, well, I expect to do 5 years in Etna Creek for what I've done. And they said, have you murdered someone? I said, no. You broke into cars, broke into houses, assault? No. I had a Facebook page that was titled Acting a Mayoral Candidate, and I had a council email address on that Facebook page. And they start laughing. They said, you're joking. I said, no. Under the rules, you're not allowed to do that. And I said, with my knowledge of building Facebook pages, I should have checked, and not realising that a resource or an asset of council is an email address, I should have done something about it. So for that, I'm very apologetic to the councillors for that. I'm also embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for the failed mayoral candidate who's lodged this complaint, because not only being rejected by the community, to think that the only thing you can do through the whole mayoral race is to look around and try and sling some mud on someone and hit a jackpot thinking this is Watergate and we're going to bring down not only the council but the state government. I don't know what, but I am embarrassed that someone, and then to double down and bring up a situation where we've had a national tragedy within this region, and to suggest that I was trying to make some sort of political advantage out of this is just absolutely disgraceful. We had, I'm not even going to mention the incident, but to raise that is just an absolute disgrace, and the person who's lodged that should hold his head in shame. Also, I'm angry about the cost. This particular investigation has cost over $10,000. Now, I could only wish that it comes out of the division that the person complained from. It might give me a little bit more justice. But I'm hoping that this council learns something from this particular event. And I think, you know, the previous CEO might have been retiring, didn't want the hassles, and called in some investigators. Now, my interview of all but about 5 minutes, I think it was, with the investigators, they couldn't even show me. I took their word on it that my email was on the Facebook page, because all they had was a screenshot from the complaint, so they couldn't even show me. It wasn't on the front of the Facebook page, you had to go into it. So again, I'm not a big Facebook builder, user or whatever, so I took their word for it. So our policy does say that the CEO has the right, when they're frivolous and simplistic and not worth the paper they're written on, the CEO has the option to email the unaffected councillors and ask for their advice. That's our policy. And then we would just go back and say, oh, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So again, I hope the next time that something as simplistic as this comes up, that we don't spend $10,000 on such an investigation, because that could have been a couple of 100 metres. I'm harassing the director about some footpaths at Mullers Lagoon. That could have been a couple of 100 metres of concrete to go around Mullers Lagoon that the public's going to get a bit of use out of. Because again, the pub test, I particularly go into the pubs and ask the people their opinion. And this accusation, although technically right, is absolutely laughable. Absolutely laughable. And then when we tell the people in the pub that we have spent $10,000 to get to this situation, I'll carry the heavy cross for the next, for the rest of my life for doing this, using that wrong email. But I tell you what, there is a financial cost to council that is more important. And that's why I'm so apologetic about as well. So to me, if we had such a thing as a tea lady in council, if she came up to me and said, you got your email on the Facebook page, I would have taken it down. There's simple mistakes that we make, and I think yourself was caught up with your declaration of interest about the political donation to your declaring that. It's a simple mistake that can be made, and that's all this was. So at the end of the day, I'll cop it on the chin, and I'll take it from there. So that is my explanation, and certainly again apologetic, embarrassed, and angry.
So I've got to open it up to any other councillors who would like to ask Councillor Brunker any questions or have any comments.
I'd just like to make one, and I just, on council's behalf, of going down the actual pathway of using their external investigators, was because if we'd have done this internally, I don't think that would have passed the pub test. So, it's all about keeping everything above board.
No,
and
yes.
At the end of the day, let's not forget the reason that had this oversight not happened, then we wouldn't be here in the first place.
Well, in fact, that we've had, and I've been involved with a case with another councillor where the CEO and the mayor held the investigation and got a compromise. It was similar as far as being a pathetic allegation, and that was sorted out in that exact way. Now it obviously scales up if there's misconduct, if there's fraud, and it's a technical investigation. Certainly we've got to get the investigators in, but this, within 2 minutes, you could have sorted that out as far as what's happened, established what's happened. I just said to the guys, I'll put my hands up, lock me up, take me away. If that's what I've done, that's what I've done. Simple. And it could have been sorted out and saved the community 10 grand. Again, there's scales of how much or what the accusations are.
Thank you, Councillor Brunker. So if there's no more comments, then I'm going to ask you to leave the room.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
So I've just got to ask the councillors that are remaining, does anyone have any, want to declare any conflicts of interest here? No? And just for the public's even though Councillor Clifford and I were both in the same election, we have had advice that we don't have a conflict of interest. I just wanted to make that statement as well. Right, the recommendation that has been put forward. So the recommendation that is put forward that we have to decide on is the council resolve pursuant to section 150 AG 1A and 150K 1 of the Local Government Act 2009 Queensland and the Councillor Facility and Expenses Policy Part 2.2 that Councillor Brunker has or has not engaged in inappropriate conduct. So I call on the councillors now to move whether they believe Councillor Brunker has or has not engaged in appropriate conduct.
Can I just say something? My Facebook page is also auspiced under the Whitsunday Regional Council email address. I did not use it at all because I didn't know how to get it out of it. I bought another phone. I had another email address for the thing. So if I was smart enough and I'm not very tech savvy to know that, well, then I believe that Councillor Brunker should have as well.
So I'd like to move that Councillor Brunker does have has engaged in inappropriate conduct. I trust the investigators have done their job. That's what we've paid them for. I trust that they've been fair and just in what they've come up with. And I also believe that, you know, Councillor Brunker is one of our longest serving members of council and has probably done more elections than any of us combined, and therefore I feel that you know, he possibly should have known better, and also I also feel that he was warned as well. So councillors did receive emails to remind them of their obligations. So can I have someone to move that, please? Second it, sorry, I moved it. Sorry, thank you, Councillor Simpson. So can I put that motion to the vote, please? Oh, sorry. Yes, Councillor Collins.
I'm just curious to know, we can go back through the records, was there any actual emails sent out in regards to him running for the council into the election? Because I haven't got an email address on mine at all, but the thing is, obviously it has to be used an email address where to set the account up, and I can guarantee it wouldn't be the council one because I've had the account running for a long, long time. But, you know, in respect of having it on there, he's still the representative for Division 6. People have to contact him somehow, you know, and a lot of people might not have phone or anything, want to use email to contact him. I'm curious to see how many emails were sent out in regards to his into his campaign from that email address. I can probably tell you there's none, but as far as I'm concerned, he's still the representative of Division 6, and it should be there. There's no way in the world anyone can tell you what email you use to start your accounts up. It's not possible unless you put an email on there. Now, Councillor Clifford just said she had an email on her account still. So why aren't they pressing charges against her as well? This is just bullshit. It really is.
Thank you. I specifically did not use Facebook at all.
I'm just saying, but the thing is, if you had an email account there still.
It was on my councillor email address, and I went, no, that's using facilities. I don't have a 12-year-old at home to change it for me. I've got no idea how to change it, so I didn't use it. And I certainly didn't change my heading, Councillor Jan Clifford, mayoral candidate.
Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, look, this is an email address that we're talking about. Like, it is ridiculous. And if this hadn't have come up, I probably would have made the same mistake as well,
Yeah.
going into the next election. Like, it's just a simple mistake. I won't be supporting that he has, because I don't feel he's done this on purpose. So yeah, it's just silly that we're even discussing about an email address.
Unfortunately, we are discussing an email address because it has been complained about, and a complaint has been made, and it is legislation that you can't use your email addresses. So
Well, that's what I think.
unfortunately, it is the rules, and we either, are we here to bend the rules or are we here to enforce them?
Who's asking if I can address the meeting?
I'm sorry.
Am I able to do that?
Councillor Clifford.
Thank you, Mayor Hall. Through you to the CEO. Is there any reason why the two reports, the one from whatever it was back in February and this one now, are different from the investigators? Because there are differences in the reports.
Councillor Jason, I'm sorry, Director Jason.
You wouldn't
Giving
have
you
a
an upgrade there. Or
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, matters had come to light after the original investigation report had been finalised. Those additional matters were referred back to the independent investigators so that those reports could be re-examined based on the information that had been provided. As a result of that, whilst the outcome of the report didn't change, some of the detail in that report was amended with the new information, and that report was sent back to the council as a final report that's accompanied this matter coming back before council. So that explains the difference, but it doesn't change the outcome that was identified from the report.
Councillor Simpson.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just a few comments. Like, I totally agree with Councillor Brunker about the frivolous complaints and the way we do things, but you can't go past the report there. The allegations have been substantiated, and I'll just go with the legal advice.
Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you. I went through the election recently, watched the mayoral election closely. Councillor Brunker's stance was definitely one of experience. And I think that these small mistakes can cost the ratepayers a lot more than $10,000 if councillors make. I think we're here to dot the I's and cross the T's in accordance with legislation. That's one of our most important jobs, just to make sure that things are done right, openly and transparently. I did look through a number of issues with varying candidates through it, but this was a breach of legislation, and that's why it's here before us today. I think if I was still sitting back there and this had just been swept through council without independent investigation, that I'd be questioning whether it was all open and transparent. So I'm not happy with the expense, but I'm happy with the fact that there is a report on the investigation. I'd very much like in these serious cases like with Councillor Clifford that we could read those investigations. Currently, our acceptable request policy doesn't allow us to do so. Before I make these sort of decisions, I would like to have all the information available. But in this instance, I do feel it's not just about the email address being there, as Councillor Collins said. It's was it used, was a council phone used, all these things we're not sure of because it wasn't part of the complaint. But something that's mentioned here is about being an authorised spokesperson. That would have been done by the acting mayor. So.
Just in regards to that, Councillor, I had about 10 phone calls that morning from every bloody news agent and paper and every broadcaster and every paper in the country, and I actually rang up. I spoke to the communications manager, and I suggested that, it's not my business. My business is running a woodshop. Mike knew those people. Councillor Brunker knew those people, and I thought, well, it's better. He's the best spokesman for the job. And I do believe there was a report. Someone had complained about him wearing the Whitsunday Regional Council shirt, he was a representative of the council. What do you want him to wear? Bloody Jackie Howe t-shirt or something.
Okay, does anyone else have any further comments or questions they would like to make? No, so can I put this motion to the vote then? All those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried 4-2. No, because I think we've got to, yeah. It is. So if council resolves to take disciplinary action against Councillor Brunker pursuant to section 150 AH of the Local Government Act 2009, it may make one or more of the orders set out in section 150 AH 1B. It may consider any previous inappropriate conduct of the councillor and any allegation made in the investigation that was admitted or not challenged and that council is reasonably satisfied is true. The disciplinary action guideline is attached, so I think you've all got that in your notes. For council's consideration. So now I put to the councillors, do they wish to seek any disciplinary action as per the move to seek any disciplinary action as per the table? Councillor.
Thank you through the chair. Look, I think because this is so minor, I believe the apology is enough. So yeah, I'm happy with what he said today, and yeah, the public's heard it. So I'm happy with the apologies made today.
Councillor Bowman.
Yeah, looking through the list, Madam Mayor, through you, Councillor Brunker has made an apology today. I think we can say that one is ticked off. He did speak very strongly about the cost to the ratepayer. So I feel in this instance, it's suitable that he makes some financial contribution to that. If he's so upset about the $10,000, he could choose the amount, but I think the amount set in the last meeting is suitable for this situation as well as offering back $500 towards the cost of the investigation, and obviously the years of experience do need some extra reminding, so perhaps before standing at another election that he does undergo some training to be sure that no council resources are improperly used again.
Councillor Bowman, I will agree with your thoughts on there. I feel we would, it was substantiated. Councillor Clifford had to accept the what we come up for her, so I think that we should be doing the same and treating everyone the same. So I agree. I feel Councillor Brunker has made an apology. Does anyone else want to speak to that?
In regards, Councillor Clifford had two offences for $300, not $500.
500. No, it was 500 total. Sorry.
It's 500, Councillor.
Yeah.
You were 300.
You were 300.
Yes, I'll second that too.
Thanks.
Yep. Councillor Wright, did you want to say something?
Through the chair. Look, I just believe like this is going to set a precedent. Like even if there's people that do the wrong thing and then know that they're doing the wrong thing, and yet there's others that just do it and they don't realise. And I think that's what you can't just throw a cast net over that whole group. Like I think we really do need to use a bit of common sense. Like this is to me like it is just an honest mistake, and if we're going to start I guess throwing costs at every mistake we make. I hope everyone around this table is aware that that could happen. So, yeah, I just don't think this is fair to be, this is the consequence of an honest mistake.
The Local Government Act and Code of Conduct is something that we are held very highly to account, even more so than the Premier. Whether we agree with it or not, that is the legislation and that is the Act. And therefore, if we go against it, are we setting a precedent to say that we will not abide by legislation and the Act?
So, and just to follow on from that, but that's the exact reason it's coming to us to make these decisions, because it's not at a level where they need to make a decision. They don't want to know about it. That's why they flick it on to us. So we're here to make those decisions and work out what is right, and judge everything by what's put in front of us. At the end of the day, it's up to us to make those decisions. It's got nothing to do with the Act.
The independent report and the assessors that we paid to do this investigation is where we should be putting our faith. They're independent. They've gone through everything independently of council. I don't like this, that we have to come back and do this. And I've spoken to Director Bradshaw about taking this to the next LGAQ conference because it is not something that we should have to do as a council. I don't like sitting here being judge and jury of any of my fellow councillors. If things get done externally, then so should this part of it as well. However, it is the legislation, it is the Act, and it is also, we've got to set that precedence of following that. We did pay that internal investigator, it was substantiated, and therefore if us as a council say, well, that's not correct, what is the people in the public then going to say? Are we just setting the rules ourselves? Are we going against legislation? I don't agree with that. I don't like it, but I don't agree with it. Councillor Wright?
Yeah, just to add to that, just with some people in the public have come up to me and sort of said, "What's going on with this?" And when you sort of explain it, they can't believe it. They're just this is a joke. But at the end of the day, I think we just really need to just think about what it is and just go through it. And at the end of the day, I think it's fairly minor, and it is an honest mistake.
Director Jason.
Through you, Madam Chair. Just for consistency, it might be worth adding a further note 3 there to note the public apology made by Councillor Brunker in his, deputation, for want of a better word, beforehand. So that will at least make it consistent with the previous ruling as well around having to make the public admission.
Thank you, Director Jason. Is there anyone else that wishes to have a comment? Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you. Just noting the apology, I'd also like to note the way that the complainant was spoken about. I don't agree with talking about people's decisions to take up their rights. We're here in a situation voted in by the public to abide by these rules, and any member of the public has any right to have their say when they feel something has been done improperly. I don't feel they should face ridicule for that. Not something I was happy to listen to. But in this instance, if we start setting a precedent where an honest mistake doesn't matter, we're leaving ourselves open to get slacker and slacker. I think, as I said, you need to dot the I's and cross the T's. That's what we're here to do. There's so much legislation and policy to deal with, and we've got to try and do our best to get across that. If we let somebody get away with one thing, what's the next thing we let them get away with? I stand by the investigators, as I did with Councillor Clifford. I can't say that was my personal opinion, but the investigation was in place, the charges were substantiated, and if I have to face a similar fine for not doing my job properly, that's what I'm here for.
Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Any last questions or comments? Can I put that motion to the vote then? All those in favour? All those against? Motion is carried 4-2.
Please.
Yeah, so who for?